So Ginge, as an ERI and rehabilitation instructor in the PTI department of the Royal Marines, I get so many lads come to me on training programs or enquiries or weekend camps. I think that I've got shin splints. It's the number one thing that you hear constantly: shin splints, shin splints. Or because David Goggins said it once, I've got stress fractures. What's your sort of take on shin splints, stress fractures, all the good stuff?
So stress fractures, obviously overuse and bone damage. Look, before we go into this, what I would say, I've had a lot of recruits over the years come up to me and say, I've got shin splints, and candidates, and I'm starting now in the role that I'm in now, people messaging me saying that they've got shin splints. The first question you need to ask that person, or he needs to ask himself, or she needs to ask herself, is who's told you you've got shin splints? And again, this goes back to what we were talking about before. Get the information from the right source. Dave Goggins, great bloke, comes up with some good stuff on social media. But don't just think because you can research something on the internet and self-diagnose yourself with cancer.
Yeah.
So you've got to get that diagnosis from a credible source, from a GP, from a physio, from someone who you trust, who has medical experience and knowledge to say, yes, you've got shin splints. Don't just think you've got shin splints. A common misdiagnosis of shin splints is something called inflammation of tibialis anterior. So front of your, let's bring it down to basic terms, the front of your shin, the anterior of the tibialis, the front of your shin, roughly where behind a shin pad would sit on your shin, is a muscle called tibialis anterior. Now, that inserts into the cuneiform off the top of my head. I believe it's a cuneiform, which is a bone in the foot. So just know that when the foot goes into dorsiflexion, that's when tibialis comes in. So what happens is, if you've got a candidate who's all he's ever done is play football or rugby for 80 minutes or 90 minutes, and now all of a sudden they're going into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mile run plus, that what they're doing is stressing that muscle. So every step we come forward, when we bring the foot forward and they go into the heel plant part of the gait, you're pulling your toe up, tib ant is coming on, and you're overloading, you're stressing that muscle more than it's ever been used. So it's not been conditioned enough to conduct an 8 miler or a 6 miler. What that does then is it inflames the tendon. So a common misdiagnosis of shin splints is tendinitis of the tibialis anterior, where the tendon has become so stressed, it's inflamed. And also the muscle, again, if you've not given yourself enough time to repair, it's just a muscle repairing. So that doesn't mean that you've not got it. It just means get it diagnosed by a professional before you tell someone that you've got shin splints.
Get it done properly, because I remember I went through basic training and my shins were killing, they were screaming, it felt like this was pulling off that, and I was like, I've got shin splints, but I don't want to sit there, I'll just get ice on it, I'll just try and rest it the best that I can. But no one told me that I had shin splints, and being honest, probably until now, I told everyone, I had shin splints during training. But you're right, no one professional told me that I had shin splints.
Yeah.
So I've made that up.
So and another, you just reminded me there, another common injury, and this goes around to the posterior, to the Achilles tendon as well. This is the first time that some of these guys have run in boots. Yeah. What we're doing there is we're elevating the lace. So the lace is now around the like top of the ankle, like bottom of the shin, top of the ankle. We're then tying it as tight as we can, and we're wrapping it around, and you're cutting off, you're restricting that blood supply. So it can't get rid of byproducts, and it can't absorb nutrition. Remember, the blood is a supply chain through the body, so it can't get rid of anything, it can't absorb anything. So that's another, sometimes when you just loosen your boots a little bit, and you can feel that, oh God, that feels so much better. Because there's the nutrition coming in, the lactic going out. So remember that as well.
So what do you think about, like, because you obviously said then, lads that have played rugby, played football, they're used to sort of playing on soft ground, playing on grass.
Yeah.
And now they've gone straight into, I'm training for the Marines, I need to do a 4 miler, a 6 miler on the road tomorrow on concrete, hard impact. Is that going to make a difference? Because they're going from soft ground to hard ground.
Yeah, I mean, you'll hear me say something now. So Newton's third law, every action has an opposite and equal reaction. If everyone remembers that, just everything you do in life, whether it's physical, mental, everything we do will have a reaction, and it'll be opposite equal to whatever we're doing. So if we're going from running on a treadmill to running on a road, running on a road to running on gravel, running on gravel to running on undulated terrain up and down hills, you're going to use different muscle groups. You're going to need different footwear. You know, so even changing your footwear will change your gait, change how your heel strikes and your toe off and your midfoot, your forefoot. It's all going to change. Barefoot, you know, you've got your Hockers now that have got big soles. You've got your Vivos that have got your like minimum soles. Don't listen to anyone on don't listen.
Yeah.
You've got to listen. And it feels weird because I'm telling you, I'm giving you this advice. Yeah. Don't listen. If someone says, oh, I've got these shoes and they're amazing.
Because they're bright.
Great.
They look Gucci.
That's good for you. Try them first, all right? And it's hard. Some of these shops now, you can go on a treadmill and you can run a mile or two or whatever and you can try them out. But don't just think because your mate's got them and he's passed out in the Royal Marines that they're going to work for you. They're not.
This is something I try and stress to people massively, and I went and did it at a shop running bare in Alderley Edge before I joined up, and it was a sort of gait analysis. So the bloke puts you in a pair of trainers, looking at your feet and runs with you and watches your feet and then gets your treadmill and then watches this and goes, them dead shiny ones you wanted ain't right for you, mate. These ones are. And I saw them, I was like, oh, thank gosh. They don't look cool at all. And he went, but they're right for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do I want more? To look cool? I did really want to look cool as well. Or to have the ones that are right for me, like less injury, the right shoe for my weird feet, because everyone's feet are different, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we got the right shoe for me, and I tell people, if you can, get a gait analysis, like massively important.
Yeah, 100%. It's golden information. And it's, again, that comes back to, you know, don't just go for what looks good. You know, Ferraris.
We all want to do it.
Ferraris look mint, don't they? But, you know, take that over the common and it's not going anywhere, like, you know what I mean?
I think part of this, what I want to get stuck into, shin splints, stress fractures. Let's go from the start then. So a lot of people are worried about it now. So they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they hear about shin splints, shin splints, shin splints. Oh no, I'm now going to get shin splints because I've heard the word loads, I've heard the buzzword loads. That wasn't for us back then, we didn't have the social media. So a young lad's watching this now.
Yeah.
He's training for the Marines and he's worried that he's going to get shin splints. He's worried that he's going to get stress fractures. What can he do differently with his preparation, or what are the golden things in a training program from someone he should be looking for that would hopefully alleviate the chance of him picking up shin splints?
That comes. This is going to sound really weird, but train that the top 4 inches. If he thinks he's going to get shin splints, he probably thinks he's going to get something else as well. Is he thinking that he's going to pass out? Because that's a positive mindset. Or is he just living in that negative mindset? I'm probably going to get back troops. I'm probably going to get shin splints. I'm probably not going to pass out. If you're always thinking about the negative stuff, you'll always live in a negative world. So think about the positive stuff. So the first thing I would say is train your mind. Become more resilient to these things that the conversations that are happening online, things that people are saying. Percentage of X amount receives this, and percentage of X amount receives that. Well, 100% of people that passed out.
And sort of like
that's a statistic that you need to remember.
With that negative mindset there, every time I fire my car up, I don't think I'm going to crash today.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Or I drive like, whoa. They'll be running over Dartmoor, the sort of baby's heads. Oh, I don't want to roll my ankle. I don't want to. And you're probably more likely to do yourself in doing that, aren't you? It's like half-hearting a sort of rugby tackle because you don't want to get injured. That's when you get injured. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, let's have a look at a little bit of prehab while we're here. So you can. It's right to think, I don't want to get injured. Don't think you're going to get injured, but think, right, how do I prepare to not get injured? Most common injuries, and I mean, I'm going to name drop someone now, a guy called Rich who works at CTC, he's a physio, probably one of the best physios that I've worked with. He's a great bloke. He's been there, well, I've been there 20 years, and I'm pretty certain he was there when I was in training. There's no injury at CTC that he hasn't seen, that he hasn't treated. Very knowledgeable, very, very calm. You know, when you're at CTC and you've got instructors shouting at you and forefinger pointing you, and you meet Rich, you get, you know, if you ever get medically, you know, touch wood, there's any wood about somewhere. Touch wood, you don't get injured, but if you meet Rich, he's the sort of bloke you want to meet when you're injured, because he's just like, look, he hits you with the truth. So he, like, we have loads of conversations. I've had loads of conversations with him about injuries and stuff. And one of the conversations that we had was, you get a lot of people doing global things. So they'll do squat, deadlift, bench, pull-ups. You know, they'll train the global muscles like the lats and the pecs and the glutes, the hammies and things. But they don't look at the intrinsic muscles. And I'll name some, like you know, your teres minor, your multifidus, your gemellas, and all that, the little intrinsic muscles. Some muscles there, people are like, what the hell are they?
Make sure you write that down.
And you don't need to know them. Just have a look at them, and some of the little things. Just balance 1 minute on one foot on a foam mat. That's a hard exercise to do. For anyone who's never done that before, and you'll see the foot will start firing off. You'll see all these little shaking movements happening in the foot. Now, anyone who's had an ankle injury or a foot injury or broken a metatarsal or anything, you will see, you'll have gone through that, and they'll have done this low-level rehab with TheraBand and balance boards and things like that. If you've not been injured, fair play, good effort. I challenge you now to go and have a look at that. Just stand 1 foot, take your shoes and socks off, stand on 1 foot, and if you're doing it on the floor and it's fine, then elevate it to a cushion or a yoga mat or something like that, and then elevate it again to a little bit more to like a box that you jump on, and you will see those muscles being fired. What that is myelin sheath being created. Myelin sheath is a neurologic pathway. Now, every muscle contraction we have in our body requires a neurological message from the brain. Sensory neurons see, I've got to lift my arm now. Bang, your arm lifts up. It's passed, without going into the science, it's passed to the muscle, down the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, neuromuscular junction. Bang, you lift your arm up. Now, if we look at a baby walking, it's the simplest way of looking at it. You see that baby and he's all over the place, and she's all over the place. I'll try and not
It's like my little lad now, yeah. He's like,
and they can see what they want, and they're all over, and they're shaking, and and they're not. Give it a year or two, and they're sprinting around the house. And that is the neurological pathway. This myelin sheath has been made bigger and bigger and thicker and thicker. It can cope with more. So it's like walking that path over the grass, and the Sergeant Major's like, oi, get off the grass. And you start to create a little bit of a path, and then it gets a little bit wider, and then next minute, a couple of years later, they've tarmacked it. And so the one at 40 commando from Jubilee to the lines, there's a tarmac path there. We used to get bollocking. Sorry, swore there. We used to get a roasting. We used to get a roasting from the Sergeant Major for walking down there. Now they've tarmacked it. And it means more traffic can get down there, so you can fire that message quicker and more efficiently. So if you can build those intrinsic muscles first, work on the foundations, and again, it comes back to your point. It's not as sexy. Doesn't look good in the gym, stood on a balance board. But when you're going over Woodbury Common and you're standing on those mounds of grass and stuff, it's going to help you a lot.
But all of my other mates are going to the gym and doing arms and chest.
Yeah.
So should I not train with them? Should I not go and do that?
Every action has opposite equal reaction.
Exactly.
Newton's third law. But look, there's times where you need to do bench and squat and deadlift and everything else. But don't put the roof on a house until you've built the foundation.
Exactly.
Put the roof on last. Put the lick of paint on, the stuff that looks good, but do all that last. All right? Build the foundations, brick, mortar, paint.
And the reason that I asked you that question is because someone asked me that recently. They were like, but my training program that I've got here doesn't look like what my mates do. And I was like, well, what are your mates training for? Magaluf, Ibiza. Are they going to be running across Dartmoor?
Yeah.
Are they worried about shin splints? No, they're worried about falling off a quad bike at 3 a.m. coming back from the bar. It's train for what your goal is. You will probably be the anomaly in your friendship group going for the Marines. Not many other people will. So your training won't look like theirs, but that's okay because you're not going for what they're going for. Your training has to look like what you're going for. And that's probably why this is so specific.
Yeah.
So prevention, we've done a little bit of that. What about like the progression of your running and things like that? It's one of the main things that, and I did this when I was preparing back when I was 15. I was like, right, I need to run a 6 miler. And I just went out and tried to run a 6 miler in a time where you couldn't even measure how far it was. So I was just sort of, this must be about 6 miles. Something like that. Came back in pain. And then I couldn't run the next day, So to young people watching it, progression with your training to avoid shin splints and stress fractures. What do you take on all that?
Yeah, you hit a few things there. So pain, that's the big one, right? So anything in rehab, prehab, or even just general training, we want to be uncomfortable, not pain. If you're hitting in pain, you've gone too far. Okay, you wouldn't put 50k over your 1 rep max deadlift and try and pull it. It's going to create a lot of pain in your shoulders, in your back, in your glutes. Okay, you want to be uncomfortable. So discomfort is good, pain bad.
Easy for people to get confused here with probably, I'm training till it hurts, or like Goggins, I'm training till I break myself, and blah, blah, blah. So an easy one to fall into the...
Does he say that? Does he say that? I was going to say, if he don't, I don't watch him. I've seen a few of his stuff, but if he's training till he breaks himself, he should not be putting that
We
out.
like you, David Goggins.
Yeah, hey,
this
Dave.
isn't personal, mate. You know what I mean? Come and have a seat and we'll have a chat.
But I don't, I honestly don't.
But the influence for the young people is, they probably think, I've got to go to pain, I've got to go till it hurts. But
well, you've got mental and physical pain, haven't you? You've got
yeah.
mental and physical pain, and that, you know, mental health for anyone who knows me knows I can explore that all day, and I'll talk about it to anyone because I think everyone's got a different perception on it. But you know, if you're getting up every single day, sometimes less is more. You know, if you're creating discomfort like 4 or 5 times a day, and you're not giving yourself that time to rest and recover and repair, and you're not eating those micros and macros and nutrition supplements, whatever else you need to get in to repair the body, then you're running that car on empty. You're getting in your car, you're driving, you're coming back, you're not servicing it, you're not changing the oil, you're not changing the tyres, you're not filling it up, you're going out again the next day. You're not doing it, you're going out again the next day. It's going to break. And that's what leads to stress fractures. Little things like not stretching, the less sexy stuff like balancing on a board, stretching in the gym, doing a little bit of yoga, having a day off, looking after yourself, analysing yourself, being honest with yourself. Look in the mirror and start with that person in front of you before you start with your mate's training program. Start with why are you doing the training program that you're doing? Don't go, oh, well, I want to look like him. You don't know what he's doing. You don't know where he's been. I have a body type which, you know, if I can power lift and qualify for world champs, and then the next week I can go on a marathon and run a marathon. I've always been naturally good at adapting to the different sports. I represented the Royal Navy at 5 different sports, so that shows. If I'd have just sat still, and that's probably the ADHD in me, I've got to be doing something all the time. Yeah. So just concentrate on what's at task, concentrate on the horizon, and just channel that. And I think we've gone well off the topic here. I can't remember the question you asked me. But I think it was something like David Goggins at first.
Yeah. I suppose like for the young lads starting running, pretty fresh, haven't run a lot. Progression. Yeah. Safe progression.
Yeah, and like you say, Strava's a great app, it's a great tool. My mum and dad used to drop me off 4 or 5 miles from house and I used to run back. That's how I measured distance back in 2002 or whenever it was. So now you've got Strava, which is brilliant. Kilometres, miles, whatever you use, but use the same one. I would recommend miles because that's what we use in the core.
Don't you think people use kilometres to make it sound further than it is as well?
High Roxers, aren't they?
Yeah.
High Roxers, mate. Yeah. Real people.
Get out of here.
Real people use miles. No, but if you want to use kilometres, use kilometres. You want to use miles. But don't, that's then when the mind's going to make sure you're mentally strong enough to say, when you've got 6 miles to do on your CPC, around the endurance course and everything else, don't get disillusioned with it being 6K. It's a lot more. So I would recommend people using miles. I would recommend starting off by running 1 mile and working on the time. Go off the time. How quick can you get that 1 mile in? And keep working on that. What you're going to do there is you're going to build up your VO2. You're going to build up your recovery. And you're also going to build up your anaerobic capacity. So because aerobic, anaerobic sort of energy system there, but you're running as fast as you can, not just a steady jog mile. It's a lick.
Yeah.
Half a mile out, half a mile back. Concentrate on that, and then start progressing up from there.
And something I'd want to say on that, because some people might go, a mile? Are you joking? I'm better than that. Well, how about we leave our ego at the door? Same as with weight training. When I started weight training, I wanted all the plates on because some big guy was doing it and I wanted to do it. And I've probably done myself damage since back when I was 13, 14. If I'd have just left my ego back there and gone, let's just start lower. We've got a life ahead of us, haven't we, to progress, to get to the big mileage. Let's just start low. Let's start 1 mile and let's progress it and progress it and progress it. Move up safely, like you say, so we don't get these injuries.
Yeah, I agree. It is something we all want, that magic button, that magic pill, that magic button. How much money can I give you to get me there now? Yeah. Take your time.
Comparison on Strava. My mate Smudge is doing 4 milers now, so I should just jump in at 4 miles.
Yeah. Probably not. I've got a mate Briggs here. He's an ML, and his body, he's like, 6 foot plus, he's a big lad as well. And he'll just go out and do a 40 miler. And if I'm doing a marathon, I've got to train for it. Like,
do not try this at home.
But yeah, it's like, and you just look at him, you just think, how is he doing? And he doesn't. He'll do 7-minute miles all the way around.
That's carnage.
But he's just. I'm like, mate, are you fit? And he'd wear like some old school like
trainers. He's thinking that like trying to crawl away from him.
Got spiders in and stuff. And I'm like, how's he doing that? And anyone who knows him will be like, but it's just how he's built. We're all different. Everybody's built for.
That's a big one. We are all different. So don't, in the world of comparison, social media, comparing yourself to others, Strava, comparing yourself to others, just run your race. Just do you. Like, because you're going to get injured if you don't.
Yeah.
And then leading on to how we follow the circle of this sort of story is like we've done the possible prevention side of it. But, Ginge, I've got shin splints. I have. Immediately, or shin pain, shin splints, whatever. I'm on a program. I'm training for the Marines. Shins are screaming at me. What should I do? Should I go and run tomorrow just to like have another go at it, or what should I do?
So first of all, I would recommend obviously getting professional help. Medical help. If someone's going to give you medical advice, you're then liable. All right. So I would not give, I would, if I'm in a medical role at CTC, at 40 Commando, at 42 Commando, I'm then allowed to give you and you're one of my your customers, Marines, corporals, whatever.
So this is not medical advice. This is opinion. Disclaimer.
I can give you medical advice, and it's normally backed up by someone like Rich, one of the physios that's at one of the units, and that's again, it's another attractive thing about the Royal Marines. Be careful I don't go off with my ADHD, because I will, but I'll come back to it.
2 people, riddled with ADHD, chatting on a bench. Yeah, but, what could go wrong?
This is another attractive thing about the Royal Marines. If you've got an injury and you, in Civvy Street, you have to wait months, or you have to pay to go and see a physio. In the Marines, you've got pain. You go and see the duty medic. The medic will then, push you onto the physio, and then you've got a physio good to go. So it's a really good attracting factor for the Royal Marines, and the military. And I think if you're looking, if you've got an injury, by all means use YouTube, use Google and Wikipedia and everything. Just make sure you're getting your advice from a credible. NHS normally is good. There's a few other, off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but there is quite a few platforms on there that are really good. Normally, if they're charging you money, they'll tell you what you want to hear, and they'll give you stuff like, So just be a little bit sceptical about that.
Make sure you come back next week and the week after so we can check again.
Exactly. I recommend you have 10 classes with us, and 500 quid a class. So I'm not saying Wikipedia is bad or the internet's bad. It's not. It's a great platform to get advice from. But just make sure you're getting from the right place. If you're in, it goes back to the original thing. What I will always tell my clients, I call them clients, but the patients in the Marines, is if we're creating pain, you're in the wrong place. If you're getting out of bed uncomfortable, then relax. If you're getting out of bed dommed up because you've done heavy squats the day before, recover. And the next day's going to be even worse. 48 hours is going to be even worse.
That's the bad one for the legs.
That's the worst one, But make sure we're getting the proteins in. Make sure we're getting the sleep in. Make sure we're getting the water in. All that good stuff needs to be involved in order to repair so that we can go again. If you've got a flat tyre, don't keep driving on it. Pump it up.
Rest is so important,
change
isn't it? And people are like, but I'm on a 7-day split. I just train 7 days, me. And I'm like, I used to be like this in the Marines. I would train every day, and I'd go to rugby training twice a week, and I'd play a game Saturday after doing legs the day before, and then I'd go out that night, and then the Sunday I'd still go and do blah, blah, blah. And I'd gone to now training far less and getting far more out of it by doing less. Train smart.
Yeah.
So any immediate, not medical advice, but any little immediate thing that someone with shin pain could do. So rest. So don't go out running the next day. Rest. Low impact work. Ice.
Rest, ice, compression, elevation. We've always been taught that. And there's, that's probably now out of date since I checked it yesterday. Do you know what I mean? There's that much research going on now, which is good, but it's also, something, there was a study done it's about 2 years ago now. Ice isn't as good as what we think it is. And there'll be people watching this going, and then there'll be other people going, yeah, that's bang on, like, you know. You never, it's a balanced discussion. Ice is a great injury preventer, all right? So if we get it on quick, it's good at slowing down the blood supply. But what does blood supply do? It takes away damaged tissue, but it also brings in nutrition. So you're not healing, but you're not, so it's one of them. But just, you know it's there. Ibuprofen's really good for inflammation. Again, it depends. Make sure you're getting the right advice. Compression's good, really good. I've started using compression quite a lot recently. After a marathon, I'll put my compression sleeves on and drive home to Manchester.
These compression boots here, I'm not plugging, I am. The Mayo compression trousers that I put on after legs and everything like that are absolutely class. The compression from there squeezed so tight I thought my legs were coming off, like, and I felt new legs after.
And the good, when I've not used them, so I can't say anything. So I can't give you a review on them. But I've used compression tights before, the compression ones, and after a car journey or a plane. You know, when you're prone to, like, I think it's deep vein thrombosis or whatever it's called. They give some flights. They give you
cankles, don't you? Walking around the Emirates like that.
If you're in business class, I'm sure you've been in a few of these. I'm always in cattle class. Listen. Yeah, you get the the compression sleeves, and so obviously if they're giving them out on planes, and then there's obviously a reason for it. So by all means, when we flew to Australia last year, I had my compression sleeves on, legs on, and felt really good when I got off the other side. So. Look, just take the measures that you need to. Rest, recovery, good diet, and smoking, drinking, knock that on the head if you can. That really does delay your recovery.
So to sort of wrap up to everyone, if they were like, my shin's hurt now, rest, just the power of rest, not going out and flogging yourself. You're not going to lose fitness. Don't worry, don't be scared. You're not going to be unfit by taking the time your body needs to recover. You are going to be unfit if you make your injury worse and you can't go back training for months rather than just a few days. And professional advice, not just Google says this. And I think that sounds like me. Go and get professional advice.
One more on that as well. Sorry to jump in. You've got stretching as well. So obviously on the back of the leg, you've got the soleus and gastrocnemius, which is the calf, and then a muscle that's a little bit deeper than the calf. That's, if you don't stretch them off, that's going to be pulling that Achilles tendon up, which is going to be pushing the tib ant down. You've then got tib ant on the front. If that's pulling up, you've then got two tendons doing that. It's going to create a lot of pain. So make sure we're getting a lot of stretching on the soleus and the tib ant. And just stretch.
Happy with that, mate?
Yeah,
Spot on. Shin splints, boom.